Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from StoryPlanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book Obedience to Authority, a creation by Stanley Milgram. Obedience to Authority from 1974 delves into the darker aspects of human psychology, pondering why people obey commands and to what extent they will comply when prompted. Drawing from the author's significant experiments, the book reveals how even morally upright individuals can transform into ruthless beings under specific circumstances. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Stanley Milgram is a highly influential figure in social psychology due to his renowned Milgram Experiment at Yale University, a study that has become globally recognized in both psychology and popular science literature. With 8 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book on StoryPlanet.net. To start, learn how anyone can become an obedient inflictor of pain. Obedience is vital in society's structure, but has a darker side leading to atrocities. The text explores Stanley Milgram's research on obedience to authority, including the classic Milgram Experiment, which highlights how ordinary people can commit harmful acts under authority. Key points include proximity, affecting resistance to authority, the concept of the agentic state, and how symbols of authority influence obedience. Key idea number 1. Following authority has resulted in serious crimes throughout history. The text discusses the concept of obedience to authority and its role in historical atrocities such as genocides and wars. It points out how individuals, when perceiving someone as an authority figure, can commit terrible acts while denying responsibility by claiming they were just following orders. The author highlights the dangers of blind obedience and introduces the idea of scientific experiments on obedience to explore further. Key idea number 2. Stanley Milgram conducted experiments to understand human obedience. The author conducted experiments to understand obedience to authority by simulating a scenario where participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to another person in a learning task. The setup involved a rigged draw, ensuring the participant was always the teacher who administered shocks to the learner. Despite the learner's acting, no actual shocks were delivered. The experimenter encouraged the teacher to continue despite the learner's apparent distress. The study aimed to explore how individuals comply with authority figures, even when it involves causing harm to others. Key idea number 3. Experiment results were surprising as individuals complied with instructions given. The text discusses an experiment where individuals displayed high levels of obedience to authority figures, even shocking a learner to an extreme level. This obedience is attributed to societal conditioning from a young age to follow authority figures, out of fear of consequences and a desire to avoid conflict. The study shows that individuals tend to comply with authority figures, even in situations that may go against their moral beliefs. Key idea number 4. People following orders may not feel responsible for their actions. Subjects in an experiment entered the agentic state, shifting responsibility for their actions to an external authority figure. This mindset absolved them of guilt and diluted their accountability. The concept warns against blindly following perceived authority figures, citing how historical atrocities like the Holocaust occurred partly due to individuals in the agentic state. It questions if the same dynamics apply when the command giver is not a recognized authority figure. Key idea number 5. Many of Milgram's subjects were appalled by the cruelty of the experiments when instructed by non-authority figures. The author conducted an experiment to test obedience to authority by changing who gave commands. Subjects obeyed the experimenter's commands, but resisted the commands of an ordinary person posing as a peer. The difference in behavior was attributed to the perceived authority status of the experimenter, based on the higher purpose of advancing scientific knowledge. Key idea number 6. Subjects attempted to reduce the shocks and assist the learner while refraining from openly defying the authority figure. The experiment explored the relationship between obedience and aggression, finding that subjects did not obey due to innate sadistic tendencies, but rather out of a sense of obligation and perceived impossibility of disobedience. Subjects showed small acts of rebellion but felt unable to openly disobey due to fear of consequences. The majority experienced stress and discomfort, administering pain, and felt guilty afterward, highlighting that they did not enjoy harming others. Key idea number 7. Subjects became more obedient when they were distanced from the shocking process. The level of authority and proximity to the victim significantly influenced subjects' willingness to obey commands in the experiment on obedience. The author modified the experiment to assess how proximity affects obedience by making participants physically shock the learner. The close physical involvement caused more subjects to openly disobey, with a 70% disobedience rate compared to the original 2-3 obedience rate. This proximity experiment made participants confront their behavior directly, leading to a stronger realization of their wrongdoing and reduced denial of responsibility. The direct involvement in the suffering of the learner forced participants to face the consequences of their actions and acknowledge the cruelty of their behavior. Key idea number 8. It is challenging to break free from authority, but doing so is what turns individuals into heroes. Participants in Milgram's experiment mostly followed cruel commands, but some disobeyed due to emotional and intellectual strain. Increasing shock levels led to strained relationships with the experimenter, causing stress and disdain. Disobeying was driven by a conflict between maintaining the experiment and causing harm. Disobedience, seen in historical examples like resisting Nazism, can be heroic and exemplary, showing the importance of acting ethically despite authority. The experiment's key lesson is that true heroes act morally even when pressured to follow cruel orders. In conclusion, key message: most people tend to obey authority blindly, even if it causes harm, due to the difficulty of disobeying. However, everyone has the potential to be a hero by practicing intelligent disobedience. The book Intelligent Disobedience by Ira Chaleff explores how and why individuals often follow orders against their better judgment and provides strategies to resist such orders effectively without endangering themselves. Further reading: Intelligent Disobedience by Ira Chaleff, 2015. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on storyplanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on storyplanet.net.